My name is Kristen Small. I am the consultant for the Alliance Group at the American Public Health Association. Really happy to be here and really excited to get into presenting a poster. I know this is a very hot topic considering that the annual meeting is only a few months away, so really excited to get into it. As I'm speaking, the chat is open and free for people's comments and questions, so please feel free to utilize it. I also have my colleague Raya here who will help monitor the chat as I am going to be facilitating and leading these discussions. We do have a couple of guest speakers that I will introduce later on in the presentation, but as of now, just keep those things in mind. And so for the agenda, we're going to go through a few areas here. First, we'll recap APHA and all of the things that come alongside it. We'll talk about some reminders for the annual meeting, as well as a couple of guidelines and logistics around creating a poster. We'll have a early career professionals discussion by our guest speaker, Nancy. We'll also welcome two of our guest speakers from the National Network of Public Health Institutes, Caitlin and Laura. We will continue with them speaking specifically about poster sessions, what it is, and some examples for you all to give reference to. And then I'll close with following up on some future webinar ideas and next steps. So APHA, of course, is been here for over a century. It's a professional society that really champions the health of all communities. APHA has an array of different programs and different intervention strategies that are used across different partners and across different stakeholders. It is a broad-based member community. So some of you on the call might be members. I am a student member, so I take pride in being a part of APHA for over 6 years. And also influencing policy is the bigger umbrella of what the work is being done around public health. So when you look at all of these different pieces, really APHA is an administrative hub that helps monitor all of these programmatic strategies that we think about when it comes to public health opportunity and outcomes. And so specifically for the Alliance Group in disease prevention and response, our job is to really help motivate those initiatives and create campaigns and strategies to help public health professionals be well equipped for their jobs when they're out and executing in the communities they're serving. And so the annual meeting, what we're all hoping and praying for, I guess you could say, the annual meeting is in Atlanta, where I'm currently residing. So really excited for you all to be here with me as we celebrate the annual meeting, November 12th through 15th. There are tons of activities that happen during the annual meeting, so it's a great way to network. And this year's topic is around creating the healthiest nation, overcoming social and ethical challenges. So as you all will be attending the meeting, you will see that a lot of people's topics around research and scientific strategies are based around this topic. There'll be tons of people from all across the nation and globe that are public health practitioners and advocates and professionals who are in this space to really network and gain more insight on their public health practices and strategies. The annual meeting is tons of fun. As somebody who's been for a couple of years, it's a really good opportunity, especially if you're a student or early career professional, to be in the space of others who have been in the field for some time and talk about different things that you are experiencing in your field and then comparing different situations across the board. I will say too, for early career professionals and students, it's just a great way to meet other people who are within the same boat, because sometimes it feels that we can be a bit isolated in our process, but there are people just like us who are doing great work in the community. And so it gives an opportunity for people from all across different public health industries and spaces to come together and really talk through and maximize opportunities in public health. And so there's a couple of opportunities. Mind you, these are only a couple, like I said, out of tons of opportunities that are going to be presented during the annual meeting. As you know, it is a 4-day meeting. So this is pretty much the tip of the iceberg, but it really does help to gain some context around what could be done as you all are attending. So a couple of things for student assembly. meeting, which is something that I'm excited to go to as well. Saturday, November 11th, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Keep in mind that that is just the time frame, but within those hours, there are different things that are happening that could be of interest to you. It isn't an obligation to stay the entire time, but it is something you can pop in, pop out of, and just get more insight. It should be a wealth of knowledge and opportunity to network, which is always fun. And then for public health AmeriCorps professionals, this is a great opportunity to learn about advancing health equity in your local community. That is Monday, November 13th, 2:30 to 4 p.m. So feel free to engage. There'll be a lot of information and things that you can take in your toolkit, as well as, of course, the poster session, which is why we're all here. Tuesday, November 14th, 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. Keep in mind, it is an hour, so it is a span of time where you get to stand proud by your presentations, and people are going to be walking through and through, talking to you about your host site experiences. So really fun opportunity for you to meet lots of people from all public health spaces. And then want to thank Nancy for this plug of talking about some of the workshops I'll be having for early career professionals. One will be November 13th, 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. So feel free to engage in that workshop, as well as their poster sessions, which is something that they'll be presenting around their early career professional work. November 13th, 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. So tons of opportunities. I did create a link for the actual agenda of the annual meeting expo. You'll see day by day, there's probably like over 10 to 20 opportunities per day. So it can seem overwhelming. How I would navigate it best is to just write down 2 or 3 events per day that really speak to your interest and navigate from there. I think once you find that you attend one, you might talk to others and they might be attending another one and you'll be able to tag along. There's lots of ways to get involved, but I think the overall picture that would be best to strategize is to look at the 2 or 3 that are of high interest to you and of high interest to the projection of where you see your career going. And as you're going to those events, you'll meet tons of people in the process. And so these are a few guidelines that I do want to highlight. Caitlin and Laura will be able to speak on further later, but just some high level knowledge about some guidelines. As I mentioned, it is 1:30 to 2:30 that Tuesday to present. So you'll have an hour of time. This picture is a very could seem overwhelming, but it is a great depiction of how the poster presentations look. There'll be a couple of rows of posters that you'll stand by, and people, as you can see, are walking along. They might ask questions. They might just want to read it. They might just want to know your name and know what you've done. All those things are of value, and so you'll be having the opportunity to entertain those people and just talk more about what you're doing in your work. So think of a poster as a graphic presentation of your research. It really is a one snapshot view of what you've done and things that you've learned. And so have fun, engage. And the great thing about APHA is we are your technical support and assistance, as well as just your guide in making sure that posters are detailed, printed, any logistics on that day of Tuesday. We will make sure all those things are formulated for you all. So really, we are serving as a support for you. I also want to plug that I did add the poster session guidelines link in this presentation. Also, keep in mind that all of these, all the slide decks that you'll see today will be sent over to you all so you can have as a reference to click and to explore. Without further ado, I would love to introduce Miss Nancy Sherwood from APHA to discuss more about early career professional opportunities. Take it away, Nancy. Thank you.
Awesome. Christy, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to everyone today about early career professional membership at APHA. First off, as Christy already said, my name is Nancy. I identify as a white female with green eyes, and I'm coming to you from Falls Church, Virginia. So I'm happy to be here. I'm so happy that a lot of you are going to be joining us in Atlanta. I can't wait to see you. I hope you'll drop by the membership booth in the expo hall. That's near where the poster sessions are going to be. So definitely drop by and get some free stuff. I did want to just do kind of 2 pull-out ideas very briefly. I want to, leave plenty of time for the wonderful presentation that Caitlin and Laura have for us. But the two things I'd like to pull out are, first of all, to give you a very brief overview of what ECP membership is at APHA, and then just to highlight a couple of things that we do, special events, both at the annual meeting and outside the annual meeting. And I do apologize, I don't have a slide for these per se, but I just have some brief remarks. So I will be asking Raya if she wouldn't mind at this time dropping in the link to learn more about early career professional membership benefits at APHA. The early career professional member group is the next step that you take after you graduate. So APHA has developed a membership cycle that starts with student and goes all the way through retiree. So once you graduate, the next logical step is to be an early career professional. It's a greatly reduced membership type, and it also has some specialized benefits like the student membership does. A lot of those things include online webinars. I'm really happy to tell you I just secured a great speaker for us in October. Everybody on this call will be invited to a Networking 101 event on October 3rd at 1 p.m. I don't have that registration nailed down yet. I have a couple of internal hoops I have to jump through, but you can definitely mark your calendars for October 3rd. That's going to be an exclusive ECP, Early Career Professional Member event, and it'll be all about networking. So it's very applicable to getting ready for the annual meeting. In addition, as Christy has already indicated, we have a lot of very specific ECP events at the annual meeting. We have 2 career development workshops, as Christy already mentioned, on Monday morning at 8:30 to 11:30 a.m. There's a drop in and out 3-hour workshop with some career experts from the Association of Schools and Programs of Public Health, the Career Services Assembly. They've come every year for us, and they're very popular. So it's usually a pretty packed house. That's Monday from 8:30 to 11:30. You can come for any of all of that workshop. Monday afternoon, I know we're kind of maybe competing a little bit with the AmeriCorps event, but we do have early career professional poster sessions. One of the things that we created with this poster session opportunity for ECPs is the chance to present your research in a pretty competitive environment. APHA, the annual meeting is very competitive, and it's a wonderful national showcase for your research. Sometimes ECPs, need a special look in. So we created poster sessions just for the early career professionals. And those abstracts, believe it or not, the submission for next year will start, before you know it, at the beginning of January. And finally, I'd like to pull out on Tuesday morning, there's a one-on-one career expert drop-in session in what we're calling the Say Hey Lounge. So come in and say hey from 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., open to all ECPs. And again, we'll have career experts that you can bring your questions to. I'd be absolutely delighted to speak to anyone if they have specific questions. If Raya wouldn't mind dropping in my contact information, that's nancy.sherwood@apha.org. Again, thank you so much for being associated with APHA. We're so glad to present this webinar, and I will turn it back over to Christy.
Thanks, Nancy. That was short, sweet, and to the point. Thank you so much for your presentation. And please look at the links that Raya dropped. They're really great to see a lot of what Nancy highlighted and brought to the table. So you all are very much welcome to all the early career professional events, and we're looking forward to seeing you there. So without further ado, I want to also welcome 2 of our guest speakers today. We have our partners here from the National Coordinating Center for Public Health Training. I do want to introduce first Caitlin Moore. And I'm going to read a couple of your couple bio moments for you all so you can understand Caitlin and Laura a bit better. So Caitlin is a program manager for the National Coordinating Center for Public Health Training, and they are both from the National Network of Public Health Institutes. In her position, she manages Public Health Learning Navigator, which provides access to peer-reviewed training and bolsters the public health workforce, and has a passion for public health professionals that have best knowledge and skills to serve their communities. So let's welcome Caitlin through our emojis and snaps. Also, I want to present Laura Precher, who also works with the National Network of Public Health Institutes and serves as the Associate Director for Training and Workforce Development within the National Coordinating Center for Public Health Training. She has a track record of implementing programs aimed at strengthening the capacity of the public health workforce, and she oversees a portfolio of initiatives focused on improving public health through capacity building, training, workforce development, and technical assistance. So please welcome both Caitlin and Laura to the stage. I will allow, I believe Caitlin is going to kick us off and Laura will proceed.
Great. Thank you so much, Christy. I really appreciate it for that introduction. And also, we want to say thank you to APHA for hosting us here. We're so excited to be here with y'all. Laura and I actually had the great fortune last year of presenting a poster at APHA in the early career professional track. So that's a little bit of our background and how we are here to present to y'all. And through this, we do have the chat open, so feel free to ask any questions at any point in time. Laura's going to help me out here as far as answering questions, but right now, can everyone see my screen? Great, perfect. Okay, so first we want to go over a little bit of the agenda. We're going to start with some welcomes and introduction to kind of see who is in the room, follow up with what is a poster session, setting the expectations, following through with what you can gain from a poster session to make sure that you are getting the most out of this experience. And part of that is getting started now. So absolutely moving that transition from an abstract to a poster. We have a couple of different poster types to be able to show you, and then also some tips and tricks both for the poster and the poster session, and then the guidelines that APHA has as well, and then going over some logistics as well for the poster session. So, and then we'll follow up with any questions that y'all might have after the fact. So again, this is just supposed to be a broad overview of kind of poster sessions in general, and we can get into some of the nitty gritty of APHA as well, but they also have wonderful resources we'll go over on the poster guidelines page. So first, I wanted a fun little icebreaker. So let's start with a check-in with what is your level of experience with poster sessions. Feel free to drop your response in the chat. So you can put a 1 if you were totally new to this, you submitted your abstract, and now you're like, what do I do now? 2 is you've seen a conference poster. That's a great starting place. 3, I've attended a poster session, which is very important. 4 is you have actually developed a poster before. And 5 is that you have presented your own poster before as well. So feel free to drop in the chat a little bit. Oh, great. Great. Look at this. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. Well, we got a whole range of folks in the room, and I'm very excited to see that. Well, again, hopefully we'll answer any questions y'all might have. But I know Chrissy introduced us a little bit earlier, but I just wanted to give an opportunity for Laura to say hi. She is my colleague here. Laura, would you like to jump in and say hi briefly? Introduce yourself.
Happy to. Hi, everyone. It's great to be on here, and I love seeing the responses to Caitlin's question. It looks like we've got a wide range of people with experience in poster sessions, and I hope we can teach you something today. And at the end of this, we're happy to share our contact information if anyone has any follow-up questions.
Yes. And so again, I'm program manager. I specifically work with Public Health Learning Navigator, which I'll have a little plug for later, how it might be able to help you with your poster. But the learning objectives for this session is that you will learn what a poster session is and what it's going to look like. Some, again, tips and tricks in navigating a poster session and how to turn your abstract into a poster. So moving onwards and upwards, we'll go with what is a poster session? So broadly, a poster session is a conference. Poster session is an opportunity for early career professionals, students, and others to inform attendees about their research, innovation, and their program. They're a great way to engage with data through the process of developing your poster and enhancing your communication skills and making personal connections. So there's both in-person poster sessions and virtual poster sessions. We'll be covering both in this overview. However, APHA, again, is just an in-person session. And I think one of the things that I realized in creating a poster for this is it's also really about the journey. So making sure that you are engaging with your program, it's a great way for you to really learn and develop and really reflect on the hard work that you've done. So I hope that you can think about this as a journey as well. And I also would like to say we are excited to see you at APHA in Atlanta. Atlanta is my hometown too, so you're going to have a wonderful opportunity there to see and learn so much. So it's a great way. Okay, so now briefly, we're going to go over what is a virtual poster session. Also, y'all are really going to get a deep dive into my poster session history here, starting with my first poster, which was a virtual poster in December 2020 from my graduate program. So here we are. With a virtual poster session, it can take multiple different formats. We've done some before too with the Sophie conference as well with Laura and I, but what you're going to need to have is the same thing, basically just a virtual template for a poster. Some of the virtual sessions will actually record a video discussing the content of the poster. For instance, here I had 5 minutes allotted to cover all of the background information, all the research I had done, and upload that onto the website and the platform. Typically, they'll also want you to upload your abstract, as you can see here as well. And then if there is a live session for the poster session in the virtual format, usually you want to be attentive and active during that session to respond to any comments in the chat that you might have. And it's a great way to kind of circle back and reflect and let people digest in their own time. So this is a great way to kind of, you know, have a lot of different folks come together in a virtual format. So this is, again, a disclaimer, though, that you will not have to do this for APHA in 2023. This one will be only in person. So this is just for future. If you do have to make a virtual poster and upload it, this is what this will look like in the future as reference. So, okay, so next, I know Christy dug into a little bit, but this is my picture that I took at APH last year. So it was coming down the escalator. It was both the exhibit hall and the poster sessions, and it was such a wonderful community. I mean, look around. There was just so much going on. I loved it. That being said, it is big and exciting. So be prepared with a lot of energy, and you're going to have your little space to make sure that you shine. So look forward to that. This is what you can expect. It's in a big hall, and I know that in the Atlanta Conference Center too, it's going to be a big, big space. So there's going to be a lot of room to wander. So what to expect specifically for an in-person poster session. So this is actually a snapshot of Laura and I last year at APHA's Early Career Professionals presenting our poster on the Public Health Learning Navigator. So some things that you typically want to consider in a poster session is that they are usually in larger rooms where people will move from poster to poster, as Christy said. So sometimes they are in aisles, rows, or around the perimeter of the room. This can be multiple different benefits for sure, where you might actually have someone across from you in the aisle where they're going to have their poster, or as people kind of wander around the room too. So there's going to be a lot of different flows. This sounds like it will be in aisles, so that'll be really nice and condensed for people to kind of be able to look around as they move. Also, sometimes poster sessions are held concurrently with mixers or socials or other networking events in the same space. For instance, at my organization, NNPHI's annual conference, we typically have the poster session at the same time as the welcome reception. So sometimes that can be a really great way to kind of have networking and learner engagement at the same time. So for an in-person poster session, as opposed to the virtual session, you will need a physical copy of your poster. Typically, push pins are provided to actually put the poster up onto the board. As you can see in the background, the boards are very large. Sometimes there are chairs to be able to help you reach up top because they can be very tall. So think about that as well. You will need to get there early to hang it up. Specifically, APHA this year requests that you get there 30 minutes ahead of time to set up your poster and be prepared for the session. So think about that and factor that in when it comes to getting to your poster, setting it up, finding your poster according to your session number as well. So you want to be familiar with where you're going so that you are there when you need to be there. Because people will absolutely be like, oh, I know which poster I want to see. I'm going to go directly to that spot. So there might already be some folks lingering about ready to learn and engage with you. Because you will be able to engage with attendees and answer questions in real time. That is one of the huge benefits of being in person for a poster session. I mean, it's a great way to network. It's a great way to make new colleagues, to learn about different organizations who are interested in your work. And it's a great way to potentially find other folks who are interested in the fields that you're interested in. So to collaborate or even potentially as career opportunities down the line. So definitely come with an open mind and ready to network. And you will be able to be with the conference organizers, share information about where you're going to hang your poster. So if you ever do have any questions, APHA or typically a conference will have certain hubs and centers for any questions that you might have. If like you don't have enough push pins or you can't find your poster area, then you can definitely reach out to them too. So there will be people designated from the conference to be able to help you with this as well. So always be able to look for the helpers if you need it. Also, I can't see the chat, so if we have any questions, feel free to jump in anytime. All good? Okay. All right, so very exciting. What can you hope to gain from a poster session? So poster sessions are a time to highlight the hard work and accomplishments that you have achieved. You've done a lot of work, and now it's time to share and tell people about it. So the first and foremost, you're going to be able to share and exchange ideas. Also, you'll be able to learn from other poster presenters. So you're going to have neighbors around you where you can actually engage and discuss with each other and look and reflect. Also, potentially even learn some techniques too about like the poster session and how other people are engaging as well. So it's a great way to kind of get to know those around you. Also, answer any questions. People are going to be able to engage with you and ask about your program, your host site, where you want to go in your career and future. So be sure to be ready to answer some questions and be able to provide some more information. And also, it's perfectly fine to say, I don't know, or I can get that information to you later if you want to provide me your contact information, because again, this is also about networking. So I put a little insider tip here at the bottom, which is don't forget to bring business cards. However, many of us don't have business cards. And if you do not have business cards, because honestly, everything's virtual these days, and that is how we are going through, and it's perfectly acceptable to download this app, which is called Hi Hello, or there are other apps that are virtual business cards. So you can it can have a little QR code, which is perfect for people to scan and kind of get your information. So that's something that you can think about if you just want a little virtual business card as people are asking for your contact information and how to stay in touch in the future. Otherwise, you might just want to have old-fashioned pen and a piece of paper, a notebook and handy so that you can go ahead and provide that information as you need and engage with folks. So righty. So now getting into some of the actual nitty gritty of you have your abstract. What next? How to go from the abstract to an actual poster. Again, these 3 questions came from a how to create a research poster at NYU Libraries. The citation is down at the bottom, which is a great article if you wanted to read that. But they suggest that first you need to answer these 3 questions. What is the most important, interesting, astounding findings from my research project? And it doesn't necessarily have to, research is just a catch-all term from your program, your innovation, your case study. And 2, how can I visually share my research with conference attendees? Should I use charts, graphs, photographs, images? And what kind of information can I convey during my talk that will complement my poster? So as you have that pitch, how can you go ahead and direct people to what you want them to engage with first and foremost? So those are 3 primary questions you want to ask yourself as you move forward. And then you want to think about some good recommendations that we have actually linked here in the how to prepare a scientific poster. They recommend potentially starting with a piece of paper and drawing out how you want your poster to look. So once you get that kind of general format in mind, you could think about using PowerPoint, Canva, or Adobe are some of the platforms we have used in the past to design a poster. Truthfully, I find PowerPoint to be really the easiest to move things around, create text box and images. It's a highly efficient way, but if you don't have access to Microsoft Office, then you can go ahead and look at Canva and Adobe or other great options, and there's plenty more online as well. So There below that, as you start designing your poster too, you really want to think about the poster conference guidelines. So there you'll be able to start with kind of what size and dimensions to move from, approximately what recommendations each conference has as far as moving forward with designing your poster. In this, we will go over some of the poster development tips directly from APHA, but again, in the previous slide right here, I have linked the conference poster guidelines, which go in both to preparing for the session and actually designing your poster and getting into some of the logistics as printing as well. So I cannot emphasize enough, if you have not looked at APHA's poster guidelines website, I would highly recommend that moving forward. But in the meantime, I will go over just a couple of the things that I pulled out from that site that we can hand to you here and now, is that a poster must fit on the mounted stands, which are 4 feet by 8 feet wide. So they're going to be fairly large. You do want to absolutely keep accessibility in mind when designing your poster. So you can click on the guidelines for accessible presentations, which goes both into if you were to present on an actual session like this as well, as long as I pulled out here some of the main points for accessibility in a poster session, which is that your main findings need to be about 72 to 150 point font. I know it's going to look very large when you're designing it, but it will be very appropriate when you actually print it out. All other text should be at least 36 point font. Make sure to use a legible font such as Helvetica, Arial, or Verdana. So think about the font that you're using, make sure it's not too smushed at the same time so that people can't actually see it from a distance. Make sure that all font colors contrast with the background, such as black text on a white background or white text on a dark background. Make sure that if you have any like images behind your text, that it's not overlapping so everything is legible. Using between 1.2 and 2 line spacing. Making sure that you have your research and graphs available in a QR code for attendees who are blind or low vision to access, or for any attendees to view later. And that your QR code should be at least 5 inches by 5 inches wide. So again, it's always great to have a QR code where people want to come scan your QR code and read it later. I find that I use Adobe to create QR codes. However, there are a lot of great free resources online to create a QR code as well. So again, don't place text over images, and make sure that when you are saving an image to your poster that you're using one with a high enough resolution so that it doesn't kind of get a little bit fuzzy around the edges when you print it in a really large way. So again, the materials should be well labeled and legible from about 10 to 15 feet away. The lettering should be bold, and again, think about the font style. So next, also APHA in this link here lists the Better Research poster design, which is an easy to digest poster design. Also, it's kind of more of a like cutting edge research. I actually watched this video earlier and I would highly recommend it. It has some really great theories about knowledge attainment, and it also has kind of how folks are going to be able to scan the poster session and how you should engage. So if you have 20 minutes, I would highly recommend that you watch this YouTube video moving forward. Okay, so here are some poster templates. We're going to go into 3 poster templates in the next couple of slides. So again, poster templates are a wide range. They come in all shapes and sizes. Y'all saw the one that I did earlier for the virtual, so which I could have printed out and done in person, but all poster templates kind of have 4 main components that come together. So it depends on how you want to convey the information that you have, whether it's research, a case study, or a program. They're all going to look a little bit different, but all posters should have the author's names, the title, the content, and also some sort of visual component. So other things you might want to consider moving forward is if you wanted to list the organization that you are with or whatever program organization. Also, your contact information you can list as well. And if you have a funding statement that needs to be put onto your poster, that is something to think about as well. So up top here, we actually have a more traditional poster layout, which kind of goes with the scientific method of background, methods, results, and discussions. So this again is a little bit more of a traditional formal research poster design. Below is a research poster that Laura and I put together for more of a case study, where we had a layout side by side comparing two different types of programs and quality training standards. So again, we tried to make sure that they were highly visual, bulleted information where there's not huge clumps of text. Because if people are going to walk by, if they see just a wall of text, they're just going to say, this is too much for me to read. I only have 1 hour in the session and I'm trying to get, you know, as much information as possible. So making sure you kind of mix it up a little bit. For instance, this is a non-traditional poster where they actually use the better poster design that came out of that YouTube video I was just talking about. So it still has all of the essential information, but highlights the images to convey messages. It has QR codes that link out to more information and websites and resources. And it also has talking points on a separate sheet, both for personal use and for handout. So you can definitely, you could even include that on the other side of the poster where you kind of have two panels down the side so that people, if they have first and foremost the information you want to convey, the highlights, and then if they want to dig into it, they can kind of read some of the more information on the sides as well. So again, this is kind of the non-traditional poster, but very up and coming and popular. Okay, so now into some poster tips and tricks. The first one is probably one of the more important ones, is your title. So your title, you want it to the point so people know what you are talking about. As they're walking through, they want to make sure that they are getting the information that they need. They're going to look for key terms that are related to things they're interested in. Again, in the video, it talks about that you don't even necessarily need to like put a tease in there. You just can go ahead and put pretty much your results or your program like directly in the title. So people are like, okay, I know exactly what I'm walking into. I'm ready to talk to this participant about their program. So make sure that your title is to the point. Also, make sure your poster is interesting. You know, we've talked about this a couple of times. There's multiple ways to do this. Add color, shapes, flowcharts, images with permission. I actually use this slide specifically because I asked for permission from my colleagues, Dr. Wells and Kiki, to be able to use this image from when they presented a poster last year, APHA too. So if you're going to use images with people's faces, make sure you get permission. Also consider graphs if you have data that you want to present. Linked here is a training on visualizing data stories. So again, this has actually been peer reviewed from the Public Health Learning Navigator, our database of curated peer-reviewed trainings. So there's also trainings on there on communicating effectively. So if you do need to create a graph or if you want to create a pitch, consider looking for some trainings on there. However, when you're making your poster interesting, maybe don't make it too interesting, because if there's too much visual stimuli, it might be overwhelming, and you also make sure that you want to take into account accessibility. Next, a quick tip is you want to personalize your poster by potentially adding a photo of your team or your program or your location. Somehow make it unique to you. So people love personalization. And last but not least, be creative. You do not have to stick to the traditional poster model. You do just need it to be able to fit onto the poster board and to be able to be flat against the poster board. So those are pretty much the requirements that you have. All right, so as far as the session goes, there's a couple of tips and tricks that I would recommend. So people are, first and foremost, people are at the poster session to learn. So don't be afraid to engage. People are walking around, you want to be sure to kind of, you know, highlight some of your different programs and lessons learned. So don't be afraid to engage with everyone and, you know, even ask them questions back too. So have an elevator pitch for your poster information. Recommend about a 2-minute overview of the highlights. And then one of the things that I love to do is actually come up with a good question, kind of draw people in. Have you heard about? Are you interested in? What do you know about? So that's a great way to kind of start a conversation. And as people are walking by, making sure that you can actually start talking to them about your poster and all the hard work you've been doing. So something you could also consider, and if it's in your budget, you could hand something out, you know, whether it is, again, those talking points, flyer, something along those lines, but it's certainly not necessary. But those are some of the session tips and tricks that I would recommend as far as engaging with folks. And next, we're going to talk a little bit about poster logistics. So again, we've gotten into the design, we've gotten into the session, but let's talk about how you're going to get there. How are you going to get a poster out there? So you will have to print a poster out before your session. There are things that you need to consider in doing this. First and foremost is your budget. So printing locally will be the cheapest option. So if you have a printing center anywhere around you, that will be probably the most affordable option. Conferences, the venues tend to have printing centers, but those usually can be a significantly higher price than at your local printing center. For instance, I just tried to print a poster at a conference that we had here in New Orleans, and it was 3 times higher than at my local print shop. So just really keep that in mind, that definitely maybe try to get a couple different prices around. But part of that is thinking about travel. So if you are flying to Atlanta or wherever your conference may be in the future, you may have to pay to carry on your poster in addition to your luggage. So again, if you get 2 bags and you have a poster, you may have to think about paying the additional luggage fee. So that's something to factor in too. If you pack light, then you can carry your poster on as your second item. So think about that as well as far as budgeting. So not only printing it out, but also traveling with it. So in traveling with it too, you also need to think about how are you going to be able to safely transport your poster. A lot of posters, you can come with different mechanisms, whether that's packaging as far as like a little roll-up that they sell at FedEx, or else a lot of folks will also have like poster protectors that are a hard case. So you can also get a poster case. So thinking about that, how are you going to keep it safely in transport? And then don't forget, how are you going to get the poster home? So a lot of folks will want to keep their posters and hang them up. So thinking about both to and from. Okay. Here's the last major slide, which is all about logistics and budgeting. Here we go. So this one is specifically for APHA. I thought it would be helpful to just get some information out there, do a little bit of research for y'all ahead of time. So as far as APHA, the easiest option is APHA offers printing on site, where you can literally send your PDF or your PowerPoint file, however you end up developing it, to their actual order online for research posters. They do have a discount code. If you send it before September 10th, it's 25%. And then I think, again, Sunday, October 29th is the last day to actually be able to use this through APHA. Right now, it looks like the price starts at $220. So the earlier that you go ahead and submit that, the more discounted it will be. However, if that is a little outside of your price range, a cheaper option that I found is actually at the convention center itself. They do have a FedEx office printing and ship center, where at the Georgia World Congress Center, where you can actually use FedEx online to order a poster that will be 36 by 48 inches, non-laminated, matte, and not mounted, will be about $70. So you kind of have a range of options, whether it's like convenient, if you're maybe like a little bit of a last minute person like me, or if you can go ahead and do a little bit of planning ahead and thinking about where you're going to potentially print this out ahead of time. And then potentially even the cheapest is wherever you are. So if you have a local print shop, getting with them and seeing what how much their pricing structure is for printing out a poster. So those are kind of 3 recommendations and budgets that you might want to think about ahead of time. So we are at the end of this presentation. It has been a delight and a whirlwind of information. So let's do a quick check-in. How are you feeling about your poster and the poster session now? Feel free to drop your response in the chat. We have hesitant, nervous but okay, neutral, feeling good, and can this happen tomorrow? You are ready. Nice. Okay. All right. Okay, well, thank you again so much for your time and attention, and APHA for hosting us. And we will open up the floor now, because I think we have a couple of minutes to answer some questions.
Thank you so much, Caitlin, for everything that you presented. I feel even a lot better knowing that I've been a couple of times. There's always good ways to have a refresher. I hope that you all feel the same way in presenting your posters and getting everything revved up. There is a couple of comments in the chat I do want to highlight. And thank you, Caitlin, for the numbers. I love being able to scale how people are feeling. So it seems like everyone's pretty comfortable, but I do want to emphasize that if there are questions still, or if there are needs that need to be met, we will be able to provide those for you. So I'm Caitlin and Laura, if you could just type your emails in the chat, maybe there are some follow-up questions that people might have. That'll be great for them to use you as a reference. And also just to highlight, I see a couple of AmeriCorps scholarship recipients on the call. So want to highlight for you all that APHA is going to help with all the coordination around making sure your posters are printed, making sure you are able to travel to and from, and we will have a follow-up email for you all. But for everyone else on the call who is going to be presenting posters, we wish you the best of luck. This is an exciting time. And just to see if there are any questions, I do want to raise just some time, a couple of minutes. If there's questions in the chat or questions that anybody wants to ask, feel free to unmute yourself or also have some questions in the chat. We'd love to engage with you.
One thing that Nancy asked just a minute ago in the chat, and then it got buried, sorry, Nancy, was just how many people are presenting a poster for the first time at APHA 2023. So if you wanted to drop in the chat if that's the case, or raise your hand or send an emoji so we know.
Nice. So there's a couple of you all. Thank you, Raya, for raising that. Love to see the people who are going to be engaging with this for the first time. Really exciting. I do want to highlight that we will have future webinars, so please stay tuned for more information around that. We do project one in September, but the date will be to be determined. So we will have, like I said, more information that will be emailed to you all around anything related to the annual meeting. But we also want to give invitation for you all to tell us things that are of interest to you, things that could be highlighted better, maybe some instances for you all to meet each other even beforehand for some networking or breakout rooms, anything that could really help foster those relationships and help you all during the annual meeting. Please feel free to email me or email the Alliance email and let us know your interests and thoughts. We'd love to engage and make sure that you all are getting the best use out of this experience. So I'm just gonna throw some emails in the chat. Personally, I'll start with mine in case there's any questions that I can help direct anyone to.
Christy, I just wanted to lift up that there are a couple questions in the chat, and I know I can answer one of them, which was, will we have access to these slides and recordings afterwards? Which, yes. But then there is a question about when will APHA let us know about a late break?
Yes, Veronica, if you could raise that and explain what you mean, that would be great. Or feel free to type it in the chat. I'm looking either way. While Veronica is getting things together, I do see Angela mentioning that she's looking at presenting the oral health section. That's really exciting. And if the printer automatically scales it to that size. I have some experience in that, but Caitlin, I'm just going to raise it to you first to see if you have any comments.
You know, I am not absolutely certain on that front. I think that that is something that you want to make sure that it's absolutely as high resolution as possible when you're printing. I have absolutely had a lesson learned where we did not have a high resolution image in a poster. So I would say that your best bet, depending, check with whatever printer you're using, whether that's an actual printing organization, or if you're printing at your university, hopefully they will be able to tell you what resolution of image you will need in order for it to look its best. So that would be my recommendation.
That's good, Caitlin. Thank you. And I do know that with larger printing sources like FedEx or other printing sites, you have the manual ability to type in. Usually it's the inches. So you probably won't type in 4 by 8. You're going to probably type in those inches of 36 by, well, I can't count, 12 times 8. Anyway, you're going to type in the inches. The inches will be the right proximity for, I'm sorry, the right appropriate adjustments for those poster presentation printouts. Any other questions or comments? Nancy did raise something in the chat where Donna Wright from APHA is a great resource when it comes to abstract information. And then Veronica, you mentioned about the abstracts. Will there be a break? Is that what you're referring to, a late break? I just want to make sure, Veronica, I don't want to miss the opportunity to help in what you're asking.
Yeah, so I think if I can jump in, I think Veronica's probably asking about late breaking abstracts. I did see some info on our website about that. Unfortunately, Christy and I and the APHA folks on this call are not necessarily involved in the annual meeting planning and events. So your best bet would be to check our website for updates on that.
Thanks, Raya.
It looks like Andrew might have a hand up.
And Andrew, you can also type in the chat. We're looking at both, so just let us know. Okay. Thanks, Andrew. No problem. Do you want to make sure everybody had the opportunity to ask their questions, gather any feedback they needed to feel comfortable about next steps? I hope it was helpful. Thanks, Melanie, and really excited to see everyone at the annual meeting. It's going to be really engaging. So if there aren't any questions, I did throw in my email. I'm going to throw in the Alliance email just in case there are any questions that you can send either to myself or Alliance. We're always checking either email, so feel free to engage with us. Rye is already on point with that, so you'll see our Alliance email twice. But just to highlight again, we do have future webinars coming up around the annual meeting, so please email myself or the Alliance team about things that you want to see in the future. And the poster presentations are going to be awesome. As the millennials will say, it'll be lit. So really excited to see everyone there. And we will be engaging with you soon. Take care, everyone. Thank you.